really cool video too about Gen Xers and stuff, and have a conversation with a guy online on his who's Twitcher and YouTuber and all that, called the Indian Jesus. I found it quite interesting. I think there's a difference between 10 to 20 years in our age group. But he did a show a couple of days ago, and I was part of the chat, and I thought it was really cool. Really, because he was just saying how you talk to a millennial, or a Zoomer, right? When you're a Gen Xer, which I am. I'm 51 years old. I thought it was pretty cool because the discussion, I had with them about this was interesting in the sense that, like, I wasn't like having an interview with them. I wasn't having like a one-on-one with them, but I picked out his responses to my chat comments, because otherwise it's just going to be boring. Me bagging things away, and you'll be like, "What are you doing?" So in between, I'll stop the video and we'll chat. But I think if you're a parent at my age or 40s, whatever, and you got a Zoomer or a Millennium baby, Gen X, no, Gen Y and Gen Z, it's a whole new way they see the world, because they've basically grown up with technology in their hands. Unlike us, we grew up with cassettes, LPs, MIDI discs, records. I mean, I just said they're like vinyls, right? VHS, laserdiscs, and all that stuff, physical stuff. Now everything is digital, and like even comics books, you can get them digital, right? And a lot of times I read comics, it's usually digital. I buy physical, like this whole pile here. This is what I basically bought this the last few months. That's been checked. It's been sitting at my at Harris for sale in New Zealand, up in Auckland, down in Auckland, I should say. We're over the north, and they, I finally got them all sent, just to kind of clear out the package, because they're also moving to the new shop. So I'd love to see where they are now. But it's great to support brick and mortar, because, like I said, I am a former comic shop owner. I gave it like 18 months or something. Just another couple of stores open up with a similar pop culture vein, and it's sort of like, you can't really do that in a small city like ours. And in the end, the other two shut down as well. After I decided, well, do I go bankrupt or do I shut down? So I just decided to shut down rather than go bankrupt. And then spent 2 years basically moping about my dream being dead, and then realizing that I just can't live like that anymore and be depressed all my life. And then, my sister said to me, and this is something I want to talk, that I say to him. So I said to him another one, but like, basically, if you need to find, if you're like me, who's stressed out about stuff, or see everybody's, we're doing their thing, and you're going, why am I not happy? And all you got to find out, and this is what my assistant taught me, who's freaking 10 years younger than me, right? Goes, find out what you love and do that, right? What is it that makes you happy? What makes you get out of bed or whatever, people say that. And I know everything's different for everybody out there. You're watching live or replay, wherever you're watching, ask yourself that, right? What makes me happy? I'm not talking about drugs and alcohol and all that crap. I'm talking about what makes you happy spiritually, right? What makes you, you're being excited? Like, is it reading a book? Then read more books, right? Every time you feel down, read a book. Or playing sports, give it your 100%, right? And for me, I sat down and I was like, what makes me happy? And it's like music and art. That's always made me happy. That's always been my thing that I've always turned to whenever I felt down. So I decided, well, let's do comics again. And that was because I actually went and started doing stand-up for a bit, like get involved in improv and acting, because that's what I used to do early on, right? About 95, 96, 97, 98, right? And then running stage plays and stuff. But then, so I put myself out, got out of the room after 2 years of being like just holding myself up, like being in, was it like a shut-in? Yeah, basically I spent 2 years being a shut-in. And so when then I moved into my own apartment, studio apartment, and then that's when I felt really depressed. I was like, I don't know how to deal with being alone. And so when my sister said, you just need to learn how to do that and figure out what you love. And then I was like, okay. So I spent like about 3 months really soul searching, like really figuring out like, like what does really make me think? And I was like, and then art and music. So then later on, it's like, okay, I found out that because I had a head injuries or several, but like this last one basically made me forget stuff like memories, like I have memory loss and stuff. And so I didn't realize that I actually had a company that I'd been doing comics with, and that whole time just went away. And then one of the people realized that I was back online again because I'd just gone away from being on Facebook and stuff. And she got a hold of me. Her name's Tony, and she said, "Hey, I saw your name related to Rising Sun Comics on DeviantArt," and that's how there's a whole story behind that. You can actually read that in this this little magazine we put out. Where we put out about 2019. There's a little interview about the whole thing, so I don't want to rehash that. But it's a 64-page comic book magazine with like 40 pages of comic books, right? I mean, comic art, comic story, self-contained stuff. Not like you got to go read something else. But there are other stuff you can go on to read, like Armadillo Justice is a whole series, and we put about a 12-page book in there for kids. So if you do want to find out more about what I'm just talking about here, this is the list of stuff that we have put out on as a studio from New Zealand on available in digital at the moment, and maybe someday we'll put the magazine on print. But it's at the moment, what's the price on this thing at the moment? It's $2.50 US for a 64-page comic book magazine, full color, right? Let me just pop that over there. I guess probably a good way to just show you guys can see what I mean. And then we'll carry on with this discussion with this guy while I bag some comic books. So here we go. So, right. So this is the contents page. So you can see it's about 64 pages, 62, which is like, the back. And because you get the front and back and interior, covers. Got some beautiful artwork from New Zealand. There's a story called Robo Heart. You've got artwork from the same artist, and then you've got Art of Evans. You can find them on actually might as well put that in the chat, right? So I like promoting my friends because I think, and people I know, because I think why not, right? So you can check out Art of Evans on Insta and Instagram and Facebook, and you'll find out all this awesome work there. And check, I'm not sure if he's doing any commissions and stuff, but his art is always like always on display at certain places around our city. But he's also going to be at Armageddon on the 14th of January to the 14th of June to the 16th of June, which is a pop culture convention, one of the biggest in New Zealand. And so he'll be having his comics there, Chronicles of Wasteland. So if you do, and this is being current, if you like, I've actually bought 2 covers because I like to have 2 of each one of his work. So if you do, this is cover A, that was cover B. So if you do like Mad Max, right, Furiosa is pretty cool. I quite enjoyed it. You can actually grab his, Chronicles of the Wasteland because it's based around that sort of setting in that wasteland. And so created by, and it's for mature content, created by Shane Evans, Art of Evans, right? Like I said, on Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, so there's some great stories in here. Good short stories that you can read and find out what's going on. We got an interview with one of my friends who is the publisher of this book, right? He's a printer, publisher, whatever you want to call it, and and Adrian. So you got an interview with him about that. This is one of the best in his own comics. A lot of kind of like a reference about what we have done, our creators have done over the last century or so in comics. But yeah, it's a really cool thing to have, and of course my original character designs for Templeton, which we're going to bring out, which you'll find out the only character that's actually stayed looking the same is Placenta, the demon. So this is a, you know, I would say like an NC-17 comic book. Not, you know, a lot of crazy shit because it's got, you know, it's an adult content book. But yeah, this really cool. I'm not, actually, sorry, I shouldn't say that. So this is a magazine for mature readers. So it's actually says it there. I should say that right away, right? So it's for mature readers. And so, you know, the title story, you know, with, I mean, cover title, whatever you want to call it, Templeton, this is the old design of the artwork, I mean, of the logo, and I've rechanged it again and again, and I've got a really cool one I like, where it's like the T is actually a tail, you know, like his tail, like a, you know, like a, you know, what you call like a V tail, you know, kind of like that, right? And then there's a halo on top of the T. Like, I did it because I wanted something really special to look at. So, but of course, you know, you got this really cool story, Robo. You know, we were going to print this, take it to Kickstarter, 2019, COVID hit, and you know the rest, right? Had to pull it off. Now, I got to get to some bagging, but, and as I said, I will play this video, and I'm, you know, I don't know how old you are who's watching, but hopefully, you know, this will resonate with what I've only kept most, like 90% of what's in here is my commenting and him replying to that, but there's a couple I've left in there from other people. The reason for that is because you get the narrative of what's being talked about. And it was interesting because, like, he's over in America, I'm here in New Zealand, and we're like, you know, second or third generation Westerners, right? And, you know, Indian Westerners or what. So I thought it was quite interesting as a discussion point. And let me actually get his channel name so you guys can check it out, because I think here's someone who has like, he's trained as a psychologist, right? So he does kind of has a positive, you know, he's about, in the way I look at it, he's like in a like learning, teachable teaching kind of aspect of what he does. Like, I think it's one of the most as a YouTuber or whatever, Twitch person, I think then Jesus has very intelligent discussions with his streamers. You know, there's sometimes random people come up and be stupid, but majority, like 99% of the people on this channel, right, they're brilliant, and like they really are heartfelt, interested in what's going on with society and discussion. So he picks a topic for the day and he does that. So that's the Indian Jesus. And so here we go. I'll show you the, like, while we put up with it, I'll show you the work, and then I'll bag it, and so you guys know. All right, so you know what the bagging is that I'm doing with the work. So here we go.
So welcome to the party. Yeah, we're talking about Gen X, and is it reasonable for Gen Z to think that Gen X is the worst generation or not? Well, shout out to PLUNGEcast. Welcome to the party. So as a Gen Xer, we proved the boomers wrong about us. They wanted to ignore us as lovers or hopeless. We
Losers.
The world. So I agree that a lot of change happened between the time that the boomers came into power and now, and a lot of that absolutely was Gen Xers. But specifically in politics, again, as Bontek was saying, where you are the Gen X politicians, but as he also says, the cultural ideas are really important as well. And so I'm with you. I do not think that losers. Gotcha. I'm with you that you did prove the boomers wrong, but now the goal is to prove the Zoomers wrong, because the boomers are still in power and they're still effing everything up for us, all of us. And so great, you know, when it was just you two and the greatest generation, was a silent generation, but no, the great, whatever, you know, the generation below the boomers' parents, then yes, it was y'all were the children, but now y'all are the adults. Now y'all are the adults, and there's millennials behind you. The millennials have, you know, I mean, better love them or hate them, we got AOC, we got Alex Stein, we got MTG's kind of old, but we got Lauren Boebert. We got these people doing stuff. There's again, whether you love them or hate them, there's the millennials. We're brought up this notion of protesting for what you believe in on college campuses. And so I think we definitely need to see, okay, well, maybe that's not the best way to do things. But if Gen Xers had been the ones to do that, maybe millennials would have known, okay, maybe bringing wokeness everywhere isn't the way to go, and we would have been able to do more. Podcast going to say New Zealand, we have a few politicians from Gen X. Yeah, same here in the U.S. There's a few. There's definitely a few. And of course, as individual people, this conversation is not about individual people. We're not talking about if you are a Gen Xer, you did bad, or that's not what this is about. But we're talking about the collective of the generation. And then if you are, 17 right now, and you're looking at the world, you're like, again, wait, where are the Gen Xers who fought the boomers and won? It's not that y'all didn't fight, and in many ways, it's not that y'all didn't even win, but they can't see it. They don't know. And when they think of a boomer, they think of an old fuddy-duddy, don't know how to do anything. So they don't have a perception of what a prime boomer is really like. Podcast. So I guess it's different in America. Oh, look at that. The music back. He's vibing with the music. You guys like the music? Do you care? Yes, no? We know. So I guess it's different in America, but here in New Zealand, we're more grounded and in touch with our communities. Yes. So that is a big thing, even as Juan was talking about before with the culture, is that we moved away from religion so much, but there also was no the Gen Xers didn't create an alternative, and so y'all would chill. So it worked where you're kind of like not really religious, but kind of religious, you believe, but that worked. But then a couple more generations have come around, and there's no moral structure except for religion, and so many people can't get into religion. Somebody like myself, I was born in the church. I was born in the Catholic Church. I was confirmed in the Methodist Church. But after doing a lot of reading and a lot of soul searching, I do not have the choice to believe in God.
So this one's interesting because, I've asked them to, if you're interested in coming on, on PLUNGEcast and having a conversation just about all that bringing in his life and between the two of us, we're very interested. You find it interesting in the sense that I've also been brought up in the church, Catholic. I went to a Catholic boarding school. I went then afterwards. I hung out with my neighbor who was a Methodist, and went with his dad and family to a Methodist school, and we went to Sunday school together, right? And then later on, in my teens, I got in trouble with the police. And so my mom decided to take me to I guess like Pentecostal, Christian church. And so, I kind of like then started going to that church and went to the youth group and stuff. And then I figured out I kind of like the freedoms that I just like. I like to be able to, I'm 15 years old. I don't want to be how kind of what I felt at the time was like, I get a lot of teens do. It was like, I don't want to play by the rules. I want to make up my own rules. I want to figure out what I want and where I belong in the world my way. And so I did that. And so I hung out there with them for about 2 years, went to everything, right? The usual thing you do, you go to group events, you go to like out of town events and go and watch, skate, I guess in the sense like skateboarding, roller skating, right? And I just realized that it was like the roller skating was before. Yeah. So the event with the police was like after the Methodist church. So, and I just realized we used to go to like towns out of town and go to, because where we lived was a very small town, right? Like only a couple thousand people. And so you had to go to another town for the roller skating, right? Roller skating called Saturday. It's probably something I should just play, right? It's from, Tribe Called Quest, right? One of my really cool R&B kind of songs from back in the day, and was like roller skating jam called Saturdays, Saturdays for Saturday. And then when I moved over to Auckland, you know, they also had a roller skating skating called jam. Yeah, roller skating jam called Saturday. It is Tribe Called De La Soul, not Tribe Called Quest, because I also like Tribe Called Quest. So let me bring this up so you guys can actually see what I mean. And we'll just do a bit of a segue from this and we'll come back to that. So when you're a kid and you live in a small town with nothing happening, right? Nothing. So you end up usually going, you know, joining whatever youth group events you got to. And usually the churches are where it is because they want to do something positive with their kids, right? With their teenagers, whatever, preteens. And so belonging to a group like that is probably a better thing, right? Even if you don't believe in the religion, at least you get to go hang out and do activities outside, and especially things that you really can't afford yourself or your parents can't afford. There is fundraising going on so that you can actually afford to do that. So this is a song, you know, this is what it's called, a roller skating jam called Saturday, right? So let's skateboard, no, skate to this, right? There's a difference between there's four wheels on your shoe, on each shoe, right? That's skating. Then you got the skateboarding, which I'm also, you know, did for a while, way into my 20s, from like probably from when a skateboard was one of the first things that my dad got me when I came to New Zealand. Was a yellow little, you know, I don't know what you guys call it wherever you are, but it was a little skateboard about this big, right? With plastic rubber wheels and plastic, and then metal, chrome, whatever, steel things. I had it way into like my 15, so maybe I had it about 5-6 years until it got my mum ran over backwards onto it. Anyway, this is I miss this sort of music. I know some people say it's more around, that's modern, but I really miss the music from the 1980s. Probably early 2000s, like hip hop tape was so uplifting, was cool.
Girl meets boy on Thursday night. Boy was high, girl fly like night. They hold hands until next day. Boy then let's go hit his way. Boy rolls blunt back to his boy. Erection brings bad boy joy. Boy thinks of that big fat big black fat, nothing black fat. Girl calls boy to send him up on Saturday. Saturday, it's a Saturday, it's a Saturday, it's a Saturday. Saturday, it's a Saturday. Saturday, it's a Saturday. Back once more with the wallop in the score. Smash about a riff shit and make it rock your hip. Revival of the roller boogie in a ricochet to make it.
You can watch it later because I don't want to get, you know, content struck. But like seriously, such good stuff was out there, you know, and I really, you know, enjoyed it. And so I'll put the link in the chat for that link to the video. Now, yeah, so for me, like, I mean, I was never raised a Hindu. I did go along to, you know, to the temple, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, my mum was very, you know, religious. And then so I know along the way, she realized that Hinduism wasn't for her. And then so she, you know, and I think it was around about mid-80s. And that's how I got involved with the church. You know, I was just doing my own thing, and then mum was being a Hindu, and I was going hang out with my Methodist friends, going to the church and Sunday school because I got to get out of the house, right? And mum was happy that I was out of the house, you know. And because that's the thing, like when we back in the 80s and whatever have you, and our generation, we were left to their own, and we speak about it here.
And that's why my goal is to build that structure, build that moral structure, so that, okay, if you're a good person because you're a Christian, great. If you're a good person because you're a Muslim, great. If you're a good person just because you're a good person, great. But if you don't believe in any religion, you still need to have a moral structure. And there's just too many people outside of that to say, oh, well, just go get a religion. But you're absolutely right. The idea of value in community. That's as we moved away from religion, it should have been the Gen X generation. Again, we're not talking about individuals. It should have been the Gen X generation that created a value in community outside of the church. Context. And the one thing I do think Gen X can be criticized for is that they were screwed over so much that they just lost any ability to help themselves or have hope. Every Gen Xer I know basically lives by, oh, well, that's just how life is. You can't change people's circumstances. It's just crazy to try. Yes. Yes.
It did get to that point at one stage.
Absolutely. This is, and again, if you look in the comments of the original video here.
So I have been around people like that. I had a friend, a female friend, redhead, right? Belle. And it was like, I don't want to have kids. This is like around about 94, right? She's doing first year of hospitality and tourism, which is like chefs, bar work and stuff like that, managing a restaurant, and so on, and kitchen and whatever. And I'm doing the second year. I did my first year in that. That's why I'm like, say I'm a trained chef, right? I did my second year of my first year when I was only about maybe 1985. So I would have been like about, so I was born in 73, might have been 86 or 87. So maybe, I know I was about 15. All I know is about 15. I always get the names wrong, the years wrong because of the head injuries and concussions. Forget shit. But I know I was about 15 because that's when I left school. And so about March of that year, which was about 85 maybe, is when I left school at 15 years old. So it might have been about 87, 83, I don't know. But I know it was 15, right? So I left school and I did my a 6-month course as a chef, right? Hard out, work, serving, all that, restaurant work. And so now, almost a decade later, because I left that and I went to live in the city, and also then in that city I also was doing my own thing, drinking, whatever have you, with all my friends, working my ass off for about 3 years as a factory worker and spending all my money either on rent, alcohol. But before all that, it was rent money went out, and then it was comics and music every Friday into town on the bus and get back home with my comics, and then spend all night reading my comics, and the next day I go and hang out with my friends and drink and whatever. So and then later on we once again got involved in religion again, because one of my friends who's got invited along to a youth thing. Until then we were all like just hanging out, drinking and being ourselves, right? This is when we were about 18 or whatever. So got into a bit of trouble. Then decided, like, my mom goes, there's no, you need to find a career, dude. You need to settle down, figure out what you want. I don't want you just working in a factory for the rest of your life. And this is all you have for yourself. And so came back home, and then came to Whangarei, and then did a year in, hospitality tourism, got my second bar and chef. Didn't complete it. I did all the studies, just didn't bother to pass the test or exams or whatever. Because I spent basically that whole year was spent drinking. So I understand when people say, like seriously, like every day, at least about 4 days a week was spent drinking. And I don't recommend that. So the other thing was that, like I was saying about Belle, right? She was like, this is a 94. And I look at her and he goes, I don't want to have any kids. The world's going to be ending and stuff. So that's why when I looked at what was happening with Greta Thunberg, I said, you're just repeating what my friend was repeating way back then. Oh, we're going to destroy the world. Like, listen, the world's going to go on, right? We can look after it. And I'm into conservation as well. Like, I'm into recycling as well. But it all starts at home. If you're not looking after your own area, why go try to change the world? Because the world, you don't have the strength to change the world, but you do have the strength to change your society. And that's what I mean. I mean, not just society, but your community, right? You can actually have some input in somebody nearby. You don't have to try to change the world. You have to help change your community in the right way. But also, like I said, in this moment here, like, oh, well, that's just how it is. You can't change people or circumstances. And it's just crazy to try. It has, like I said, that has been the thing where people just throw up their hands. But there was at that same time, many of us, and not at that point, but it took me about another 2 years before I realized I could, and once again, back in religion, right? After drinking and all that, just one day I decided to get out of the house because I was like, I just need a breath of fresh air. I ended up in another church, right? And I think a lot of people, there are so many aspects to religion that people don't understand. And I can agree with them, most of them, 90% I will agree with. But there is this thing about community that religion offers, which pulls people to. And if you're not careful, you can become hardline, you can become manipulated, and you can think, and this is not just religion, right? You can get that into that in YouTube, following a YouTube personality, so-called influencer. You can do that. But like our generation basically learned that no, we will question everything because we were always told that, you are supposed to be seen and not heard. And we're like, no, we want to be heard, right? So we protested what we felt needed to be protested, and not just like, we're going to change the world. No. If we saw something close by happening that we didn't agree with, we would do a sit-in, right? Or we just, we wouldn't get violent. We wouldn't try to destroy art. We wouldn't get in the way of people, but we just say, listen, we just don't agree with this. Hear us out. And that's why I don't like the way so-called activists are protesting now, because they don't know how to do anything with in a peaceful way. They just think being aggressive, destroying art is not a cool thing. But anyway, I won't get on that.
There's again, paragraphs of people saying exactly this. And so again, as a millennial, as a mid to elder millennial who had a very early millennial older brother and boomer parents, I get it. But you can't expect the Zoomers to get it. So, okay, one person saying, sit down with my niece and nephew, both Zoomers, will understand how easy it is now for them. Every generation blames the one before. It's the same cycle. But that's not what's happening. Well, first of all, the generation before would be the millennials. So if there was going to be the generation before, it would be playing millennials, not Gen X. Secondly, you're right in the sense that this is a cycle, but you skip the generation. So millennials hate the boomers because the boomers were the ones that were in charge. But what was supposed to happen is that then Gen X takes over, and then the Zoomers hate the Gen X because they're empowered doing the wrong thing. But now the Zoomers don't like Gen X because they're not empowered doing anything. And so again, how exactly what the one says. If you opt out, then you have no reason to complain. And fair enough, I don't think a lot of Gen Xers are complaining.
No.
Gen X, we reached on the lid of getting rid of the boomers. But now that the boomers are still around and the boomers are trying to do the same thing, they're like, well, if you were working on opening the jar, why do I still have a closed jar? And what they don't understand is that the lid was on very, very tight. And so I loosened it for you.
Exactly.
Then we missed the analogy there. Podcast, I agree with William. We do need a moral compass. Without a moral compass, people ignore taking part in community and only complain because they don't see the work being done by their peers. Yes. Well said. And that's why I prefer the terminology moral compass to religious compass, because as we move forward, the idea of religion being central to one party is going to go away. There's just as things, as the left grows and gets more and more extreme, then there's going to be more secular people, like myself, on the right in the conservative spaces and that has to be okay. You have to be okay with that as Christian conservative, or you're going to lose. That's it. Podcast. So we really don't have much to say to them when we're separated from them. When we do, we get the same treatment that we got from the boomers. Ignored. Well, so do it better. Do it better. You know exactly what it was like to get lectured by boomers. So don't do that. Are we trying to say that somebody who's 15 years old cannot listen to somebody who is 50 years old? Of course not. You just have to, the way that boomers talk to their children is not the way that Gen Xers should be talking to Zoomers. This has a lot to do with why y'all are so beaten down. And we, as millennials, we understand that. But again, they don't know. And so now you have a new opportunity where the Gen Z and the millennials are ready to back you up. Now, because even, most millennials, we're still not like set up. We don't have money to be like organizing things. We can be a part of something. But now that you have us, set something up. Instead of, campus encampments, do something, you know what I mean? There is absolutely ways to do it. It's not one person. I'm not saying one person needs to do it. It's a generational thing. But this does not explain away why Gen Z should not be upset. Podcast. However, social media is used to weaponize the word. So we gotta ignore it. However, social media is used to weaponize them against us. Who's that? The boomers or the Zoomers?
So basically, what I'm trying to say there. So if you want anything to blame, call it social media manipulation, and TikTok has a lot to do with that. I mean, Facebook as well and stuff, but I mean, and Twitter. But I think in a way, my thinking on that is like, I mean, we can blame everything, but then at the end of the day, we are the parents, right? I mean, I'm not a parent, but I'm an uncle, so I gotta be. When I'm around my niece and nephews, I try to always go, okay, listen to your mom and dad, or don't. I'm going to advise you as best as I can, but the final word would be your parents, right? But the problem I see is, at the moment, is that when we were growing up as kids, teenagers, whatever, we only had our peers and our parents. And whatever we saw on TV, we just saw it as entertainment. It wasn't like, oh, the TV's telling us this and this. However, now the thing here is that now you have a huge social media propaganda thing that's happening with a lot of billions behind it. I've been as you know, if you've been following this channel, I've been watching a lot of content coming out of China, and also about how billions and billions of dollars spent on Twitter and TikTok by China, by the CCP, in manipulating and propagandizing, manipulating Americans to think that there's everything that to do with America is bad, right? There's only homelessness, there's only druggies in America. However, there's homelessness right now in China, but they want to talk about it. There's millions of people who've lost jobs over COVID, millions who died because they were locked up amongst the sick. There's homelessness. Like I said, there's people can't even survive on wages. $140 American a month, average person's income. But Americans, I'm watching Americans basically go, oh, America's shit, America's shit, America's shit. I'm like, dude, you have a freaking computer in your hand worth about $1,000. Most of them, like all these people who are like out there, activists, they carry around a phone in their hand, right? And when they just don't, like, that's why I kind of get frustrated, because I think, and I don't speak a lot about millennials or Zoomers, right? Because I think, because I'm not a parent, but I do see them being manipulated. I see people like Greta Thunberg out there going, oh, the world is going to die, the world's going to die, give up hope. Because I see that, like, you feel like you're teaching children, telling adults, right, boomers, what to do, not even understanding how things work. And then you can go, oh, but you're just behaving like that. That with you, and I understand it. That's why I go, oh, okay, it doesn't really matter what you do. In the end, if you really want to be smart, learn something, and then tell me that you understand why things are the way they are. When I was a youth worker, right, I basically read books and listened to tapes all day long because I knew that I had to be able to have something of intelligence to impart if some young person came and asked me, okay, so I'm having a problem with this. How do I deal with that? And a couple of times I got myself in trouble because I was thinking like, this is what I mean, but they didn't take it that way. They misunderstood what I was trying to say, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like that social media is manipulating so much, especially in the trans community, right? And I'm part of the rainbow, right? So I just say that because I don't want to delve into whatever shit everybody is going to make me a token out of for that, right? So I just go rainbow. But I see the young and even ultra young, like mine, has been manipulated by social media and by their peers and by doctors with $1 billion behind, $1 trillion industry behind them, want to make money out of their life forever until they die, right? And I find that really offensive as a person part of that community, right? But I just see this is just being used to weaponize not only the kids, but against their parents and against their families, right? Their grandparents. Oh, you don't know nothing. This is how the world should be. It's like everything's changes. Like not everything that's changing is good. However, if you're grounded, if you understand the natural order of things, you can play all you want, but there is a natural order of things, right? And I think a lot of time people don't want to hear that because they feel like we need change. Yeah, we want to change too, but we also realize there's a natural order to things, and so that's why I feel like they've been propagandized against their own families. And the way they used to do that to us used to be by pop culture, not movies, but people like who were icons would manipulate us, right? Would be, musicians and, singers and actors would try to manipulate us as them. Now we got social media being used to do this. That's why you don't see Gen Xers complain too much, because we have been through this. Right, we have been through people trying to manipulate us, and we just threw up and said, "Nah, f you, get f off." It was our attitude. We know what we have been through. We understood what we went through, and we know what is happening now is just manipulation and propaganda, trying to tear us apart from our children or our nephews, our grandparents, because we went through that ourselves and we understood how it all works. There's always money behind anybody who tells you something. There is always money behind anybody telling you do this, right? I heard I had a friend tell me yesterday, right, that this person he knows spent $300 on a onesie from an influencer, and then he also got his girlfriend to buy for $300, by the way, New Zealand, $300 New Zealand. He doesn't have that money, but he got it on his credit card. Then also, he got his girlfriend, or baby mama, or whatever, to spend $70 on some cups, mugs, for him as a present from the same person, right? So, I mean, you guys can say, well, okay, yeah, Ari, but you're doing comic books. No, I'm creating art. Because I'm not doing it as a grift, because this is like as a novelist, as a writer, I'm creating comic books, right? Whatever. Have you, where's Incredi-Girl, right? I'm creating this because I think it's genuinely good. And I'm not going to charge you $300 for a single comic book, or $90, or $100, or $60. I'm going to charge you $15 because that's how much it costs to print, plus a couple of handling and whatever, and a bit of profit. Except on this one, we don't make any profit. We actually lost. But the thing is that it's something that we've created together with other human beings who are artists and great. And then we can say, hey, here, right? It's not, you can buy a $10 book or $15 book or whatever. Yeah, same price. One of these ones is the same price, right? As my book, right? So it's not like overpriced friggin', thing. However, when I heard that, I was like, thinking, okay, so I knew exactly why he got. Dude doesn't have a dad. There wasn't a dad there. Telling him, hey, this is how this is life is. People are going to try to manipulate you. But anytime you feel like it's getting on top of you, come and ask me, or go to your mom, right, or whatever, and they'll tell you. Now, the social media climate wants to be your parent, right? So now you don't want, if you want something, you just go online and go, oh yeah, this is what I'll just get it. Nobody cares. I'll just get all my advice from them. And so that's why you have all these people making a lot of money off a young man right now, because there's so many men whose dads went away for milk, as we like to say, or a cigarette and never came home, right? And so you have a lot of fatherlessness homes, and anytime, and I've been through this myself, anytime there's a bit of a problem between parent and child, there's always some predator out there waiting to get involved. And I think, or get in there, right, and create a bit of havoc. Because they have no concern for their child. And I know, apologies, and I know not every parent is a good parent. And so it's, and not every parent cares about their child, because it was just a tack on, right? It was an accident. They let you know it's an accident, right? You were born. It was an accident. We had you. However, it takes a while to figure out who actually cares about you outside of your home. And so I find a lot of times that, especially with this media, social media climate, YouTube influence climate, there are going to be people coming out who do not care about you. They only want your money. And so I was seeing that, I'm like, do I get angry about it, or do I just carry on with life? And this is what we had to deal with as Gen Xers, was let's just carry on with life, right? Face things as they come and just carry on with life. So I think, yeah, I think it's really hard, right? We're stuck in a rock and a hard place when it comes to like fighting against this huge influence out there, and the stresses that kids have anyway. When you're a teenager, there's so much stress already anyway, but now you got the medical profession after you for your entire life's worth as a human being, right? Telling you that if you feel this way, chop it off. We never dealt with that. It was like, okay, let's sit down and talk about it. So you're stressed out, or you feel this way. Okay, let's work through this, and let's give it some time, and we think it, not just go take this pill and we'll be done, right? Even though they tried that on us early on, and this comes in later, so let's carry on. And I'll get some more begging done.
You want anything to blame social media manipulation? Sure, but I mean, we all have social media manipulation. We all are subject to social media manipulation, and certainly millennials are way more engaged in social media, especially at the time, than Gen Xers. So again, why are there a bunch of millennials in Congress? Why were there a bunch of millennials willing to protest? Again, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying they're willing to do it. Because the victimhood generation can't understand that we did what we did to survive. Yes, correct. You are correct, sir. They can't understand that because they haven't been. They can't understand it primarily. They don't have a first-hand experience of it. But they can absolutely understand that this is a reason why things aren't the way that I want them to be. The Gen Xers tried. It's not like they didn't do anything. They tried and they failed because the boomers are so bad. And now we all need to come together. And then, so I'm saying Gen X parents are definitely more guilty of being friends with their kids than parents. How would you then, as a Gen Xer, you consider Gen X, right? Compare millennials and what Gontek was saying, and being guilty of being friends. Would you say that Gen X first did this and the millennials did it more? Or would you say it would be different? Wayne says Gen X parents were the first to have society tell them how to raise their kids. What show you where I'm interested. What did they what was that? What was society telling?
Pop psychology.
This kind of, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking for clarification because that kind of goes contrary to the idea that the latchkey kids and the story I just told about. We haven't seen Billy since last Sunday. We'll give it one more day before we worry about it. You just gotta be home before the street lights come on. So again, not challenging you. I'm just curious what you mean by that. So what did society tell the parents to and I guess so you're talking about like soft parenting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean like TV. Yeah, Oprah on TV, friggin' bringing on people to say, this way, raise your child.
You were spanked and sent through all of those, and that was a way to develop. Don't take no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's definitely a shift. But I think there was definitely a shift needed. There's certainly as we were just saying, the children should be seen and not heard. That's not a good way to make good adults. That's a good way to make good kids. So we did need to move in that direction. I will certainly not protect the millennials for taking things too far. That's what millennials do. So the idea of wanting to be not a friend to your kid, but friendly and open so that you can have a relationship with your kid. That was the goal. And again, I think this millennials took that too far. And then, the Zoomers, they saw it and going even further. But again, I'm kind of talking on my ass here. I don't have kids. So, no. Yeah, Matthew said it started with Gen X and now it's the culture. Makes sense. So,
yeah. So let me just pop.
Like Oprah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
that makes sense. But again,
so this is also the whole part of the drug thing, right? Like if you saw a child act up, let's take her to the doctor or get her some freaking some pills to calm her down. Prozac, whatever have you, right? And the Prozac's a drug I've been on when I was like when I had my first started like having issues with my nerve damage and stuff, and with the car accident, and it took a while to get off that and to get to something that was actually helping, and so that was like what basically was a stopgap. Like, your child's a bit hyperactive. Okay, let's give them that. And that's why I think like a lot of, and I'm not a scientist and don't know medical, but here's my overview thought. I reckon that's probably what's caused a lot of epidemic in autism in kids, where their parents were put on these meds as teenagers, and now those kids are having kids, right, as adults, and now you're getting more autism, neurodiversity, and I don't mean neurodiversity, it's like intelligence and stuff. I mean like actually like we never had this many autistic kids when we were young in my generation. Now there's like so many of them. So somewhere along the way, maybe the DNA got affected by these Prozac and all this other stuff, Ritalin and all that. Like I said, not a scientist or medical, but just a random conspiracy thought, right? But yeah, I mean, like there was like Oprah was on TV all the time, like on the TV shows talking about like, bringing the next pop psychologist. Don't smack a child, do this. And here's something you learn. When you've been smacked and you feel that pain, you remember not to do it again. Because dad tells you, you'll get that again. Now it's like, don't do that, kid. And you go, yeah, let's go do that again. Then you get to, don't do that, kid. You get to. So we had in New Zealand, we had an MP, right, who basically made an outlawed spanking. They don't say hitting, spanking, right? So boom. And so you had children who were raised with that mentality, millennials, who weren't disciplined, are now raising Zoomers who are actually, they find themselves, and I'm You know, I'm not trying to say everybody, right? This is like how, you know, rent. Like then you find kids now are basically terrorizing other kids, terrorizing their neighborhoods, communities, more so when we were kids, because we're like, you know, if you go muck around and somebody sees them, they will tell your dad, and your dad will get to you, or your mum. Often it was mum. Or mum was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait for dad. I just don't want to deal with you, and you got dealt to, right? Whatever harshness were, depending on what sort of parents you had, right? And I don't advocate violence, but a little bit of discipline is necessary because you need to be taught that that's not how you behave. You know, set an example. However, you know, when you have people who have no kids telling parents how to raise their children, like a pop psychologist, you know, nothing is good going to come out of it. And we saw that. This is why we see this generation and the one millennials before getting into so much trouble and not actually understanding what is good and what is bad, not being able to decide because they don't even then. Imagine having a kid, raising a kid when you never had discipline yourself, and then trying to tell your kids to be disciplined. You can't teach that. You gotta have an example. Because this is what my dad used to do. I don't want to do that to you, but I will if you don't get your together, right?
What we need to relay to the kids who don't get it. Maybe it's not going to be today. Maybe it's not going to be tomorrow. But they absolutely, eventually will be able to figure it out. Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay. So I do feel like the best form of parenting is a mix of hard discipline, but to definitely have a conversation afterwards to help them understand. My parents never conversed. Probably why I am a follower of a channel that does mostly conversations. There you go. Exactly. Sorry, buddy. I love you. Podcast. So they told us to be friends and not parents. I've seen this in my own family raising millennials. Parenting as friends taught by those who had no kids, just with their own textbooks. Well, that's a whole thing. And I mean, as somebody who went to school for psychology, that's also another thing. As psychology became more like pop psychology, and everybody felt like, you know, well, if Dr. Phil said it, then it must be the way across the board. And again, going back to the way that Gen Xers were raised, it was like, okay, you're a person. If you can handle this, if you cannot die, then you're good to just go do whatever you want. And so again, I think a balance there maybe was necessary. But millennials taking it too damn far. Thanks to team sports also help develop mental skills, communication skills, team building, discipline, camaraderie, etc. Kids are going into sports much later in their development stage nowadays. There's too much stuff online. Yeah. So, and again, bringing it back to the original point of Gen X, when we factor in things like this, they don't have a. Not only are they not going outside to play, they don't understand the value in going outside to play. The touch grass meme is only a thing because the only reason to go outside in their mind is just not to get their brain fried. Not that there's benefit in nature, not that it's better to interact with people in real life. I even myself forgot how important it was to be in person. When I went to the Dissident Dialogues thing, I just forgot how different it is. You know, been online and talking to people and collabing here and there and having, you know, this person on the window and whatever. But shaking somebody's hand and it's just different. Excuse me, PLUNGE. And I was a youth worker from 97 to 2002, working with 12 to 30-year-olds. So I got to see all types of parenting. Those raised as friends were some of the worst to lead and get involved in activity. Yeah, well, have you guys seen any of the videos of what current teachers, middle school teachers, are experiencing? It's all this. there's usually, according to one teacher that I follow on TikTok, there's usually out of a class of like 20 kids, there's maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 that are in there willing to do the work, wanting to learn, and everybody else is either just not paying attention, on their phone, doing something else, headphones in, or actively disrupting the class. And so, you know, I think going back to what Meg said, I think the parenting has a lot to do with it. So we had one saying this is the worst generation.
I was decided that we're not gonna open that can of worms. Let me tell you something about Gen X. Both my parents are Gen X. I'll make this real simple, real easy. Yeah. They brought up, I mean, they were the last 2 kids. They were the first real generation, the last 2 kids. But like, they also didn't really have the internet. I mean, you wanted to hurt someone's feelings, you had to do it to their face. You had to do it to their face, right? Gen X practically invented the saying, I have time. Like, fuck around and find out how much time I have. Talk shit, get hit. That's not my generation. That was Gen X.
That was them. And there's plenty more here. And I just think it's so funny. Let's watch a couple more of these. And then it takes a little bit of a turn. And so we'll get back to the turn in a minute. Lance, I've noticed over the years that the younger generations are losing the skills of reading body language and speaking tones. Yep. And that was so very well helped by 2 years of lockdown and masks, right? Yep. They struggle to get the mood of interactions. Yeah. And it goes back to the social media, the lack of human interaction, all of that stuff. And I think, you know, there is, you know, that stuff's not going away. That stuff's not going away. So we have to find a way to reach. How do we reach these kids? We have to find a way to show them that there's inherent value in doing things in real life.
Wait, I'm alive and I'm going live in 1 minute? What do you mean? It was 15 minutes. I gave a 15-minute like thing because I just came off another stream of Niobe's and where I was showing all these, you know, new comics that I bought from Heroes for Sale. From Stu down in Auckland, and I was like, I need to pack these up. Might as well do a live stream, just say, yep, and hang out and, you know, Efapp this clip that I made up. It was like actually over like probably just over an hour long stream that the Indian Jesus did with, you know, with people, with the subscribers. And when I jumped on, you know, I was just checking out you know, what was going on, you know, online, and I saw this and I was like, let's get involved because I'm a Gen Xer, like let's see what's going on. And so then I actually did the super cut clip with just most of me just talking on it. But if you're free, Ross, jump on, man. If you, yeah, I'll put a link out because, you know, we keep sort of like, you know, last time I was here, your Wi-Fi wasn't working well. But if you're around, come pop in, hang out. But as a parent, I'd love to hear what you got to say about this, man. All right, back to Indian Jesus.
I don't think that they understand that that is a thing. Genuinely. I was like, I cannot imagine being inside all day and not be in sports. The worst generation is the one now, Gen Z. But see, again, if you have this this perspective, like, these are children, bro. We talk about children. We talk about children. You're the grown man. Let the children have stupid ideas. That's what children are for. They don't know the reason. How could they? The only experience with a boomer they've ever had is falling from a 70-year-old guy falling for memes on Facebook. So it makes sense. They didn't think, well, you couldn't deal with this? It makes sense. Punchcast said face to face, never behind backs because you had no anonymity. You really learned Paco, fuck around and find out. Once it agrees with Wayne, it seems like it's either monotone or completely over the top to choose from. Yeah, these kids are cooked. So we went. There's 2 more things I want to show you here. And as you know, as I. All right. So a couple more things that spark some conversation. Again, if you go to the video, there is people writing paragraphs in the comments. How about this? and it makes sense. Again, there's a disconnect. There is a disconnect, and you can't rely on the children to fix that. Yeah, because I feel like the 2000 and 2007 people made it out good. Those growing up now, especially when parents are not involved or busy, will go up online saying rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I probably would say a little bit earlier even, but yeah, generally I agree with that. I agree. It's just mush. All right, so we have this one guy who had a slightly different opinion, the Gen Xer, slightly different.
Australian, by the way, which is kind of interesting. We're very similar mindset. Aussies and Kiwis.
Deeper than I thought.
We're just not going to do it. We're not going to organize to make the world a better place. We are purely concerned with whatever little patch of the world we've managed to iron out for ourselves.
Is he wrong?
And we're just going to try.
So again, this is a Gen Xer responding, and because initially the Zoomer is like, oh, they're the worst. Then the one is like, oh, don't wake up, Gen X. And a bunch of Gen Xers like, you don't know what we had to deal with. And now this one guy is saying like, no, we ain't gonna do shit. Robert, no.
We're just gonna chill here.
But the Zoomers definitely are. See what I'm saying? Like, this is how you think this is how you change people's minds? This is not how you change people's minds, homie.
Try and exist in it quietly for as long as possible. I know some weirdo with a nose ring was like, I think we're trying to make that kind of work. And I'm like, yeah, we fucking are the worst. We watched that hero Kurt Cobain blow his head off with a shotgun out of his fame. This was back before not just anyone could be famous. It was literally a rare and precious thing. This guy blew his head off. We went from records to cassette tapes to CDs to laserdiscs to DVDs to LimeWire. We understand that things are not permanent.
So we understand that things are not permanent. So maybe there's a
100, right? I get him. I get where he's coming from. I've been through that as well. I was like, I just fuck it. Who gives a shit, right? Like, I just want to survive this, man. I'm just going to get through this, and yeah, and many times I did. I ended up in hospital. I ended up in bed, sick, and some of our friends did not survive at all. So for me, I now kind of hold life precious, and I've just, like last year, I lost a cousin, hung himself. Another person from our village hung himself a couple of months ago. Both under 50, and around 40. What else? One of my best friends growing up in Auckland, worked with them, hung out with them, lived with them, hung himself. Got addicted to meds over and had a lot of stress, no dad in the home, died in Aussie. Another one, if I remember right, same deal, killed himself. I came close to 3 times myself. Last time ended up in hospital, got pumped and got put into, this is Generation X. We're actually just happy to have survived. Not happy, just glad we survived. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, and I understand him. He says, like, we're just happy just to have cut out our little own space to deal with. So yeah. Don't want to bring us down, but he did, and yeah, and he's right. Like, we saw Kurt Cobain blow his head off, and we were like, screw pop culture icons. That was it. Like, we don't care about this out here and music and movies and stuff. That's why you don't see us bowing down to those people anymore, right? The whole who's the next big huge name? Don't do that anymore. If you look around to, Gen X, we don't really care about pop icons anymore, right?
There's a reason that Gen X didn't do anything. That's everything. So again, the idea here is not that no Gen Xer. Bunkmaster said, I was just thinking about my second grade teacher dragging me to the principal by my ear. When I got home, I got in trouble. We were the last generation to get that treatment. And again, agreed. I mean, I got that treatment, but again, I had boomer parents. Gen Xers were like, oh, now we're taking the side of the game. This is my baby. Why didn't you're the teacher? You're supposed to teach him. Everything is completely turn exactly plunge gas. That it makes sense. It does make sense that you'd be tired. Hey, we tried. We did this. We're outnumbered. I get that. But they don't. So the options are help them understand or keep them being angry at you. That's it. You start hearing what this man is saying, and he's not whining like that other girl. He's laying out points here. And Robert, this is what we've been talking about. This is what we're talking about. This is what we've been talking about. How is that Zoomer done it? How do they know what Gen X did? How do they know what a boomer was like when they were 50 years old? Did you know what the silent generation was like? Did you tell them? That's the point. You can just, oh, the young kid, you don't know what I was like on it. That's what the boomers did to you. You hated it. It shut you down. And now you're doing the same exact shit. This is the point. If you want things to be better, then do things better. Tom said, Gen X is just different than other generations. They're direct and don't soften what we say. Life gives the test, and then the lesson, we try to help it. But and that's fair. We're in you're at a place now. Again, things are changing. You're at a place now where you can take on millennials, you can take on even Zoomers, and have that conversation and not treat them as if they are only children. Yes, they are the children of the conversation. You don't have to treat them as if they are little kids who can't understand. Unless you don't want them to. If you want them to keep hating you, go for it. If you want them to be, if you want us to all be on the same side and finally retire the boomers from Congress, well, listen up. Choice is yours. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just gonna say, yep, cane, rollers, belts, hose pipes, electric cords, wooden spoons. Be honest, like the Zoomers think, they are changing the world by protesting within these states as the future money is handed over. But that's the point. You don't want that. They have the energy. Why are we just, quote unquote, letting them put it in the wrong place? Why not dictate where that energy goes to actually help us? We're all still young. It's not like we're old and it's like, oh, well. If you're Gen Xer, you're what? 40,
Thank you for
50, that. 55? You still got a whole period of life left. So you're going to give up? You're free to do that. But then don't complain. Don't complain when the Zoomers don't understand what Gen X experienced if you're not willing to say anything. You can't do that. All right. So this is, again, this guy, again, I am saying he took this too seriously. I do not agree with the tone here. I just want to show you that it changed my mind. It started to make me think. I'm like, damn, I did not realize that I felt this way. I did feel this way, specifically about my brother, specifically within my household, but maybe as an analog to, next is, so after the Zoomers is Alpha, Generation Alpha. We're being doors. Okay, I had a bone to pick with you motherfuckers since y'all started running away because you couldn't deal with the problems at home. Yeah, y'all the runaway generation. Y'all the motherfuckers who ran away from the house because you couldn't take mom and dad. Y'all saved yourself. Your Ferris Bueller, your Breakfast Club. You didn't do shit. You didn't change shit. You didn't fight and shit. You ran. And you hid. And you're the lost generation because you didn't do shit. You just accepted it. Tell me if he's wrong. Tell me if he's wrong. You're the lost generation because you didn't do shit. What have you done? We're not talking about individual Gen Xers. Obviously, the people who are holding up this shattering I'm gonna skip through my commentary because I'm just listening to some shit. What have y'all been doing? And fighting shit, you ran. And you hid. And you're the lost generation because you didn't do shit. You just accepted it. You became the 9-to-5 worker. You left millennials holding the fucking bag. You left them. And you left. millennials helping, holding the bag, and that's real. That is why. That is real. That is why when millennials were in college, there was so much to complain about. Even if they did it in some of the worst ways and started some of these tactics that we're still seeing. There again, I basically can say the same thing. Just want to hear what he has to say. Because I don't necessarily agree with him, but I do think he has a perspective. That's yeah, no, he's kind of he's straight up in the Jedi, but well, he's making a point, so let him have it. You didn't become a revolutionary. You didn't do shit. You left millennials holding the fucking bag. You left Zennials having to be older brothers when we were younger brothers, like little children of history. Bro, I've talked to you guys specifically. What did he say? We had to be older brothers when we were younger brothers. Now, when I say this is more kind of about my own home and my own brother and my own family than it is about about society. Idiots. But it also fits. But I've talked to you guys before about how, we didn't have a super close family, and I have an older brother and a younger sister. And my dad worked a lot, so it was mostly my mom at home. When we were younger, my brother would play and do this, that, whatever, play sports and whatever. And then he went off to college and never turned back, leaving me and my sister at home, knowing that it wasn't a happy place, knowing he was getting out, never turned around.
So this made me feel, that part there made me realize what my sister said to me about maybe 15 years ago. She said exactly the same thing. You left us behind, and me and little bro, the youngest one, had to deal with parents, and you were out. And but I did, I did, say I was here, and I would go home and I would thank the presidents and stuff, because I knew when I was growing up, we never got anything. It was like other people would give us stuff. And so I would always go out of my way for Christmas, for Easter. I would always go and give presents, like buy Micro Machine toys, or maybe, I'm not sure if I had Transformers, but I know I did buy Micro Machine toys for my little brother, who was about 10 at that time. My sister was around about 14 to 12. And I always get the dates years wrong, but it's like that, the 90s or 88, 90s, 89, 93. And but when she said that, I didn't realize that she had to deal with the stress that I had to deal with at the same time, because nothing changed for her. The same way I was being dealt and had to deal with at home was the same shit that she had to put up with. And yeah, it was like, then I was like, okay. But then when I was a kid, at your age, it was worse. I was sent off to boarding school. I was on my own, and I just wanted to leave the moment I could leave. And so when I was able to and was given opportunity, I just turned and never looked back. And I didn't. From that, I think it was like 16 going on 17, I left home and never went back. I only went for holiday or some time off. And then after, it wasn't until about like 2000s that I actually chilled out and came to terms with it and decided to actually have a good relationship with my parents. So if you really think about it, I was like in my mid-20s, late 20s before I actually had settled down and thought, okay, maybe let's try to understand their point of view, right? And then I realized, yep. However, if you're a child and you don't understand that, and you carry that on your head and to your adulthood, and you still don't decide to deal with it, and you just carry it on and on, you're going to be miserable. And the joy that you should feel around your own kids will be taken away, because you're like, I don't want to raise them this way. And you're like, you kind of like always blame your parents and stuff. and you always blame, you know, there were those, so I don't want to do this more than the kids. However, there are things that they did right that you also need to hold on to and do right. You can get rid of all the bad stuff. Nobody's going to blame you for that. But that doesn't mean that you hold on to a grudge, because kids will see you holding on to a grudge to your older, to your parents, and they will hold on to that when it comes to your time to be that age, right? So when you turn 50, 60, 70, they'll treat you the same way. Kids are like that. I mean, I've been like that. So I know, I've seen my friends being like that, where they just, hate their parents. And so they, well, what do you expect if that's the way behavior you take into the next generation? Kids only see and do what they see and do, right? What they see, they would copy, them mimic. That's what kids are like. So yeah, I felt really, really bad when my sister said that, but I was like, yeah, but I actually had it worse. And I can understand what you had, but I mean, you at least, you actually had them there providing in a different way that you could actually think. Whereas me, there was no provision. I was just left on my own and had to raise myself and then raise you two as well, because they went home. And so, yeah, it's like, I like how much, it was really weird. Like, I mean, but you do need that. You need to sit down with the siblings and really talk it out. But I mean, it's not always going to be accepting. But I think this is something that this generation is not understanding: face-to-face communication, right? Body language, and seeing one-on-one interaction, right? Because you don't understand people just saying shit or typing online, and that's why you got, the younger generation get offended by something being typed, right? You just go do this, you don't see anything behind it because you don't see the person there. What if they're saying it in a joking way, but you don't hear it? All you see is the typing, the words. You're but like the guy's laughing at you, and you are a so. But you go, oh, he just hates me, So that's why I think a lot of this, social media is really needs to, people need to learn how to manage social media. Even I do myself. For me, I think I'm just like a bad troll sometimes, like especially on my Facebook or on Twitter. I'm just a bad troll because I just find everything funny 90% of the time, right? Because, yeah, I have a laugh, man. Like, don't take everything seriously, because at the end of the day, we're only around for so long. And if you hold on to grudges, if you hold on to, things like that, sure, you're going to have like some people that are like, you just can't stand. But you still got to have a bit of a laugh with people around you. That's why I like going out once a week. It doesn't matter which day it is. I just go hang out with my friend, real life, have interaction with him face to face, have interaction with all the businesses that I go to and deal with and buy stuff with. My taxi driver, I always get the same one. There's two that I always get because I'm developing a relationship. One of them basically, I said, he's into weaponry and stuff like that. I said, oh, cool, I would love to have a bullet. Next thing you know, drops me up like no ammo in there or anything like that, so you can't fire it, but just a hollow shell, because yeah, he's a collector. Because yeah, I go, sweet man, it's sitting somewhere here, from World War II. Because I said I would just like to have one because I've got I've always loved history and stuff, and I grew up learning about World War II, and this is something a lot of people don't. This generation doesn't think about. They only think about what's happening on social media now. They don't even pick up a book or look at documentaries, look at what's gone in the past. And I don't want to sound like a boomer, right? But I do enjoy that because it helps me when I'm writing, right? When I want to set up right now I'm writing a friggin', and I'll stop with this because, we're going to, with the video, but I'm going to load it up on YouTube, on my channel, the actual full video, the clip that we're watching here. This is just playing off my computer right now. So you guys can see it in entirety if you want, or not. But I mean, it's there, right? Because I've asked the Indian Jesus if he wants to come and have a chat as a conversation. That's it. That's all for today, and thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you. Nugget, thank you for hanging out, man. I really appreciate you hanging out. It's always a joy to have you in the chat. And anybody else who's watching, or if you're watching a replay, thank you for hanging out. All right. Thank you all. Ka kite ano. Be well, be safe wherever you are. And like I always say, got a loved one close by, give them a hug and a kiss. let them know, especially, you know, if you've got a husband or a son or a, you know, boyfriend. Guys need to know that they appreciate it. You know, it doesn't take much to say, hey, you did a good job, or thank you for doing dishes, or whatever, because, you know, we need to hear that. Spot check, exactly. All right, guys. If, like I said, if you can use like internet, social media, all that, use it to good things. Share what you love with your friends and family, right? Let them know you care. Ka kite anō. See you next time.
And I've been waiting for the noise to die down, so I could have some time to think back to when I wanted to be where I am now. Free of problems I had then, but taken up by more now. Let me grow as I am. You can rush through your life at your own ruin mine. Oh, I grow as I am. Live your life until now at your own ruin mine. What are we rushing for anyway? Was perfection worth anyway? I guess I don't know. I've been writing my own songs and journal entries.